So actually not. Like for me, for example, like I'm barely A1.
Welcome to Pava Education YouTube channel. Can you introduce yourself to us?
Hey everyone, my name is Hez Casasola. I'm from the Philippines and I recently graduated from Masters on Environmental Engineering, Resilience to Climate Change Effects. And currently I'm doing my PhD on Design Modeling and Simulation in Engineering, also at University of Pavia.
Perfect. So the first question that we're going to ask you is that why did you choose to study in Italy?
I actually got here a bit inadvertently because I wanted to be a climate change researcher. And last 2022, that was the first time that University of Pavia offered an English taught course on environmental engineering. And the curriculum is Resilience to Climate Change Effects. So my friend referred the program to me and I applied for the program and I got in and I got a scholarship. So I just pushed through with it.
Perfect. So the second question is, how is the education system in Italy different from your home country?
Yeah, so they're actually different insofar as the Philippine education system is patterned from the American education system. So for example, the way we do exams is different. It's mostly written exams, whereas here in Italy, we sometimes have oral exams as well. But also in the Philippines, we do like 4 lecture exams for one semester, whereas in Italy, we just have like one final exam. Sometimes we do have midterm, but most of the time, we only have like final exam. But the second major difference I would say as well is that I feel like with the Philippine education system, it puts so much pressure on academic excellence, so much so that like it puts too much pressure on students, and like there's so much glorification for Latin honors and like being top of the class, etc., which could be toxic. But like with Italy, it's more about like appreciating the course and like actually learning the material, which I really appreciate.
I see. So the third question is, what are the biggest challenges international students face in Italy?
Okay, firstly, I would say like the residence permit application. I feel like that's like the bureaucratic process behind it is actually challenging, and also because you have to do it like yearly. But secondly, I would say also like sometimes finding accommodation or like if you need somewhere to, especially like when you get here. But I feel like with help from other people, and also like there are many groups out there as well in which you could check to find for a place. But I think those are the things on the top of my head right now.
What were the challenges you faced when you were doing your residence permit application?
Firstly, just with the filling up the form because it's in Italian. But secondly, like when you have to renew the residence or when you apply for residence permit in general, you have to submit all the requirements, and then they will give you like an appointment date. And usually like the appointment date will take time. And especially now because there's an increasing influx of international students. So like it may take 3 to 4 months before you could get your appointment, which may take time.
Yeah, I see. So the next question is, how is life as an international student in Italy?
I would say it's really cool and fun. But like I'm talking in the context of Pavia because I mostly lived here like for the past 2 years. And I would say like it's very peaceful and it's very chill. And people usually just take their time and like appreciate the nature. And I feel like as an international student, like it's a good experience as well because there are many other international students and it's a university town. So like it's a melting pot of different cultures and it would really expand your worldview, which I really appreciate.
On point. So the next question is that it's a really key question that I think that, do you need to learn Italian to study in Italy?
Okay. So actually not. Like for me, for example, like I'm barely A1 and like until now I only like after 2 years of living here in Italy, I only know like most of the basic words. And when I got here, like I only like learned like the words I need to survive. So for example, like just ciao and si, grazie, those basic stuff. And like even until now, like I'm still very like bad at it. So definitely not a requirement.
But I believe that you're getting better every day.
Yeah, like as you go ahead and like
Yeah.
as you meet new people and like you also learn to appreciate the language somehow.
Uh-huh.
Like it feels like it grows on you as well. Like it's really is a good language. So
Perfect. So now we're going to ask you some questions about masters and PhD in Italy.
all right.
So the sixth question is, why did you choose to do your masters in environmental engineering?
All right. So as I've mentioned a while ago, I wanted to be a climate change researcher. And
Okay.
the curriculum of my environmental engineering program is resilience to climate change effects. So like when I was checking the study or course plan of the program, it's really right. It's
Uh-huh.
really cool because it's really holistic and it integrates like different aspects of the environment, society, etc. That's why I decided to go with it.
So as we know, you started to do your PhD. So how is the PhD program structured in Italy?
So the PhD programs usually they take 3 to 4 years, but strictly since for example in my case I have the scholarship, so I only have it for 3 years. So if you want to get a scholarship while doing your PhD, you have to finish in the span of 3 years.
So now it's an interesting question is that what are the main differences between a master's degree and PhD degree in Italy?
Right. So, firstly, is obviously you will have to attend more courses in masters. In PhD, we still have some PhD courses, but you're only required to get at least 30 credits, which is just like 5 to 6 courses, and you could like distribute it for the 3 years. Whereas for the masters, like every semester, you would have like 5 to 6 courses, and you would also have to take exams every after course. Whereas for PhD courses, we don't really take like oral or written exams. Mostly, it's just like presentations at the end of the course, or sometimes no like evaluation method. So yeah.
Perfect. So the next question is, how competitive is to get into a PhD program in Italy? What was
Alright.
your situation? How did you get it?
So I would say it's fairly competitive because in my case, for example, I applied for 2 PhD programs here in Italy. I got in both, but the selection process was very arduous and it's competitive. Like they really like drill you
Yeah.
about your motivation, for example, why you want to like attend that PhD program, and also they look at your CV and also your performance from masters. So I would say it's fairly competitive, and so you really have to adapt in order to stand out among the candidates.
All right. So the next question is, are there any scholarships available for international PhD students?
Yeah, for sure. Like, for example, in my case, my scholarship is funded by the Italian government, but there are also PhD positions that are funded or in collaboration with private companies. So usually, like, when they publish the call for PhD applications, they would indicate how many PhD positions with scholarships they would put for each program. So, for example, in my program, we had like around 15 PhD positions with scholarship. So, yeah.
So for the students who are planning to apply to PhDs, what would you recommend to them?
Firstly, I would say like to really do well with your masters. Like, I feel like the reason why they wanted to take me in my PhD program right now is because I had good performance during my masters. So not only with the exams, but also when you do your thesis or your research, or if you do an internship, that's where they get an idea of what your like work ethic are, or what are your research interests. So if you want to do a PhD, you have to do well with those areas.
All right. So we're gonna ask you some questions about research and career opportunities with masters and PhDs. So the next question is, how is the work-life balance for PhD students? So far you experienced some, just so talk about it.
All right. So I'm just on my first year, and like I'm just starting the PhD. But I would say that as compared to being a master student with PhD, like you have more flexibility with how you manage your time.
Yeah.
So you don't have to attend courses all day and study for courses all day. So you have more flexibility with how you want to manage your research, and like you have 3 years to finish that research as well. So I feel like especially when you're starting out, like you have more time to like explore other hobbies or like meet with friends. So I would say like it's relatively easier to manage a good work-life balance as a PhD student. But I could imagine that it could probably get harder as we go along, but we'll see.
That's good. So the next question is, what are the career opportunities available after a PhD in Italy?
In Italy. So, based on my knowledge, because I'm not very like I'm I'm not like very thought out yet, like far ahead.
Yeah.
But firstly, like you could do like a postdoc, so you could be like a researcher, like in a research institute or in any university in Italy, and like your salary would be higher, and that could like span for like 1 to 3 year contract. So that's good. And if you do want to end up like in a professor track, like that's a good stepping stone as well. And for example, in UniPV, like we have this platform called Alma Laurea, and like where you just like upload your CV, and like it updates as well like your performance from masters and PhD, and like it automatically like introduces you to different companies that are like hiring, and like whenever there are like vacancies, they would just like send you an email about it.
Perfect. So the last question that we have is, what advice would you give to the students considering a master's degree in Italy, not a PhD?
Masters, okay. The first thing I would say is you have to show up. You have to show up to classes so that you'll have more appreciation of the material of the course, and also the professor. But I say that like with the recognition that not all students have like the privilege or like the time to attend courses. Some of the people from my program, for example, they were part-time students. But I would say like you just have to show up, and like, for example, like don't be afraid to ask help from people from your program. Like most of the time, students from your program and also your professors, they would be willing to help. So I would say like ask for help and show up like for the classes, and also show up for yourself. And like you already got here, so like you might as well like bet on yourself.
Perfect. So this week the questions were this much. Thank you for attending.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye guys.
Bye.